Hello! Welcome back to another edition of Playable Pedagogy. Here with normal hilarity and video. Hey, this is our first blogcast brought to you in image format. I'm Kyle. I'll be hosting today, and with me are my faithful companions, Scott
Hello, everybody.
and Alex.
Hello, I don't know how faithful I am, but
Well,
I'm here.
she tries hard. We're here to talk about Don't Starve Together, a game that we've all played, a game that we've come to love and hate for various reasons, and that's what we'll be discussing today. So without any further ado, we should probably go to Scott first because he experienced the ultimate sacrifice before anybody else. Scott, tell us about your first foray into the forest.
Foray into the forest. That was beautiful, man.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, so we all jumped into the game for the first time, and none of us really knew what to do. Was who was all in the game first. It was me, Alex, and Kyle, obviously, and then Kyle's girlfriend, Kayla, also joined us. Kayla had played the game a little bit beforehand, but she's not an expert by any means, but she knows more than we do. There was a lack of communication when everything first started. Everybody just kind of ran off and did their own thing, like just trying the game out, seeing what you can do in the world. And I was doing that too, and I wandered off so that I could cut down some trees because I picked a character. His name's Woody, and if you don't eat wood, he turns into a beaver.
Naturally.
Yeah. So I was trying to cut down as much wood as possible to make sure that I didn't turn into the beaver man. And then it got dark, and I didn't know that when it got dark, you died if you weren't next to fire. I didn't know how to make fire either, so I died.
We actually decided to start over because without Scott, we didn't feel like we could really go forward. Alex, what happened in our second attempt at Don't Starve?
Second attempt, we actually tried to communicate a little better and stick together. It didn't go over so well. We didn't have enough resources, like we were consuming them too quickly with how many of us there were in one area, and we all ended up dying. It was terrible.
The game lives up to its title. It really is difficult. So we kind of huddled a little bit after two somewhat quick defeats. I think total now we were maybe like an hour into our experience. We ended up switching up our strategy a little bit. We went to a pair up and split up mentality away from the group horde meandering. Scott, what do you think about the pairing up idea?
Pairing up allowed us to still have that kind of teamwork element so we could watch each other's backs to make sure that we have some food if the other person ran out of food, or that we would always be able to build a fire between the two of us. We would always have the necessary resources to build a fire. But the same problem kind of persisted in that we weren't able to gather resources fast enough to actually all survive, even in pairs. It became pretty clear that we were going to have to just all go our separate ways again, but in a more coordinated way.
Agreed. So that's what we did, and in the last go round, we actually ended up kind of selecting different regions. If I remember right, Scott found a quarry. We started expanding. Cool. We could go further. We could do more, actually individually, but still maintaining communication the whole time. Alex, another brand of experience that you had, you went solo? There's actually a solo version of this game?
Yeah, so I played Don't Starve a lot, and it's really fun. I noticed that between playing Don't Starve and Don't Starve Together, that I actually survive better when I only worry about myself. And I think it's because I then have resources that I need, and I don't have to worry about sharing them. So, I mean, even when I played with another friend after our session, we had ended up splitting off. Like, we established a camp together. We got a couple machines going and stuff, and a crock pot and whatnot. And then we went out together and found a new spot for a second camp. And he ended up staying at that camp to build it up, and I went back to the other camp and actually started getting a bunch of food cooked in the crock pot because he didn't have that over there at the second camp at the time. But for the most part, we just kind of foraged for ourselves during that time. But we also kept communicating too, because the plan was to actually spread out throughout the entire map. We could like run to other camps if, like, I don't know, giant monsters came to attack us or whatever. So, you know, giant trees chasing us is terrifying.
So
It's true.
that kind of speaks to something that was interesting to me. We had a lot of different strategies going into this, and the game being titled Don't Starve Together, naturally us being collaborators, we ended up sticking together early on, and we gradually got less and less united and more successful in terms of at least our organization and spacing within the game, so to speak. Don't Starve Together actually seems to try to make a statement towards collaboration in a different way than we would typically think. Like, especially when we go back to, if we want to revisit our first-person shooters with the Team Fortress 2, that was definitely a stick-together type gameplay, at least if we could. And if we go back to Dota, that was somewhere in the middle. I think maybe a little bit more splitting up there, or at least pairing up, if I remember right. So we've actually had a real variety of experience thanks to some pretty clutch game selection on our part. Hopefully we can keep that up. Now, maybe it's worth looking into more kind of how we can apply that split up together philosophy that Don't Starve kind of pushes on players. Do you think that's useful anywhere else?
In our last game, with the four of us, so we split off completely separate from each other, but we were all communicating the whole time, and we were each gathering specific things, or
Right.
trying to complete specific tasks. And I think that's kind of just delegating responsibility in a large group. I mean, you see it all the time in, like, the workplace, in classrooms, like when you're doing group work together. For instance, I'm going to be editing tonight, Kyle is recording, and
Scott's
Scott
looking
is-
good.
There you go. Scott contributed his microphone a lot to our other podcast. So.
I did all the editing on the podcast. So
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm solid.
Yeah, so we all split up
Throwing
working
me
that
under the
way.
bus, guys.
You're welcome.
Well, somebody had to look good. Yeah, so it really is fitting that we end with Don't Starve, because it does pretty much summarize what we've been doing so far, or at least to this point. It's that role-based collaborative concept where you can cover more ground, play to each other's strengths, and compensate for each other's weakness when need be. We should probably note that we weren't entirely loners in that process. We did come together.
In comparing the Don't Starve experience to a classroom-like experience, I like to think of it like a research project, a group research project, where initially everybody gets together and they all decide, okay, well, you go do this research, you go do that research, and come back and, you know, talk about what we've all learned individually. And then we go off again and do more research, and we're just constantly building that knowledge base, or in Don't Starve, constantly building up that home base camp. So, in that way, it's really analogous, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Was there anything in terms of gameplay, game dynamics that really stuck out to either of you?
In a pedagogical sense, the game didn't, and it's probably because it's in beta, so I don't want to give it too hard of a time for this, but the game didn't really give us any guidance whatsoever. Like, you could click on things in the crafting box and it would tell you what you needed, but it wouldn't tell you how to find it. I mean, it was pretty simple to figure out once you looked at it, but the game didn't even tell you to go look at it. It was kind of like, how do I build a fire to not die? I don't know. What's these buttons over here? Let me click on them and see. Like, the game didn't tell me anything. I didn't want to die, so I started clicking on things.
If I remember right, you actually resurrected yourself by accident.
Yeah, yeah.
You died and accidentally brought yourself back to life through the
Yeah.
little ritual
And
saying.
that was a lesson that we learned, like that accident. we then learned that you could revive yourself if you find that certain kind of stone. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But if you find one of those and you touch it, then you revive yourself. And we learned that because I accidentally found it and accidentally touched it.
We really had to teach each other, having no other experience. We did have Kayla. We've kind of we should probably talk about her a little bit. Her having experience did give us some general, at least as we went forward, trying to figure out what should we craft and when. She really, I think, helped dictate our priorities to some degree, but there was still a heavy element of trial and error and sharing information.
Well, we're all stubborn, intelligent people that are going to figure it out on our own. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. None of us wanted to listen to her. She kept saying, like, if you do that, it's not going to go well. And we're like, it'll be fine. It's a video game. I could just, bang on this tree and tell her. I could go chase this bee. It's a bee. I can catch it with a net. I have a net. Yeah. Oh, no. Now all the bees are stinging me to death.
Or the pigs.
You two did that. You two went into battle head first, and
well, you were trying to chase bunnies around while Kayla's saying, "I'm pretty sure you can't catch them," and you're like, "No, I can."
But I did. Like the first time, it was just like I got it at just the right time, and I killed it with one.
Yeah, we're just trying to learn and then learn from each other.
That's a good point, Scott. Learning doesn't have to, I guess, be in a tutorial, hold your hand format. Because I guess if we look at the outcome, ultimately we did end up surviving for a decent amount of time with no instruction.
15 days. 15 days was our longest. I don't know if
Alex would argue probably after her loner experience that we're just starting to scratch the surface of our survival abilities.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your record so far, Alex?
I think I'm in 32 to 36 days in now on the solo.
A month plus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Alone.
But and Kayla also warned me that there's going to be this giant attack that I can't stop on, kind of within the next couple days. So I need to go build a second camp before that happens.
Proof. Even Don't Starve Solo is collaborative. Alex. Tapping into her wealth of resources.
Should we take a look back at the project that we have done for this class and like what we've learned overall?
We can. Yeah, sure. Take it away.
Well, we started with Dota 2 and then we went to Team Fortress 2. And those two games were really built around competition. Like, we have collaborative teamwork within a group, but we're also competing against another group for the same goal. So what do you think we learned from that kind of collaborative experience compared to the more we're all in this together experience of Don't Starve Together?
Well, I think the competition, at least early on, added a little bit of fuel to the fire. I just can't stop talking about fires after playing Don't Starve. But really, I think the competition for me kind of heightened the emphasis on communication and organization and strategy. I think we were more intentional about working together when we had an opponent.
Yeah, it definitely kind of fueled the fire, to use your words, because it gave us it was more urgent, and Don't Starve Together, there was a little bit more time that you had throughout the day to collect resources, and it was a little more relaxed. And the really only dangers came at night, except for when you accidentally upset the giant crazy dog things that won't leave you alone.
Yeah, if you could tame your curiosity, you could usually survive through the day.
There's something to be said about introducing competition into collaborative pedagogy.
Yeah, well, I would also say that it can be useful to eliminate it as well. I guess there was still kind of an us against the world kind of feeling in Don't Starve. But I think I was more drawn to an exploration you know, basically just trial and error without that pressure of competition. But with the pressure of competition, I found something that worked. I know Alex picked up that flamethrower and just went to town in Team Fortress, you know. For me, I found that grenade launcher and that play style, and I kind of just stuck to it because I wanted to contribute as much as I could, as fast as I could. Whereas Don't Starve, I felt like there was a little bit more opportunity for a kind of playful learning style, you know, rather than the high
I think
stakes.
that's definitely kind of like giving you more time to really think deeply about, like, bringing it back to the classroom, to really think deeply about what you're doing, like what you're researching or whatever it is. Whereas having that competitiveness, or even like a deadline that's quickly approaching, maybe adds a level of pressure that makes you either crumble under the pressure sometimes, or otherwise maybe encourages you to just pick something and stick with it instead of like trying out different things and stuff. Which, I mean, sometimes their strength is in just picking a plan and sticking with it, and other times it's really being able to take that time to explore your options and figure out how best to approach the project.
So I think both play styles really have something to offer, whether you're going to be competitive or whether you're going to be more of a sandbox, environmental type thing. You against your environment, you against the world. So yeah, I think when choosing in a classroom setting which kind of collaboration you'd like to gear yourself towards, or your class towards, you really just have to look at what kind of product do you want. Do you want a process that is exploratory and playful, or do you want something that's going to be maybe a little bit more geared towards the working environment where you have a deadline, you have competition, you have basically people having to work under pressure. So it's interesting, both valuable.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we agree on something that's usually a good indicator that it's time to wrap up. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's a special thing. So let's enjoy this. We've had an outstanding time playing these 3 games so far. Hopefully more to come in the future, so we hope you'll join us. Like us, share us,
Tell your
remix
friends.
us.
Let us know if you liked seeing our gorgeous faces, or absolutely maybe we made you vomit. I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
Have a good evening, everybody. We'll talk to you later. This has been Playable Pedagogy, and we'll see you soon.
I mean, good thing I'm editing, huh?
That's your job.
Yep, totally forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, no, I think.
Everybody do things. Woo! Woo!
I just licked my microphone.
Oh, gross.
I just
my
drank
tongue
my
just kind
beer.
of slapped it.
That's one for the outtakes. People recording.
I think I would look really good with some
pink
kind
hair.
of, yeah, some kind of alteration. I mean, we could work with this, right? Right?
Sure.
Internet?
I mean, anything can be done with Photoshop.
Anything?
Anything.
Can we turn this into fire? Can I get a fire beer?
There's probably a special effect for that.
Maybe.
Scott,
Sorry, I got my friend over anyway to help me with it, so we're good.
Well, we won't stall you anymore, Alex. Thank you so much for doing that in advance. Scott, you look good as usual. Thanks for letting us use your mic. Shove it up your ass.
Fuck you too.
I just like the image. But anyways, it's been great. Have a good night.
Good night. See you later.
Boy.